Hello again everyone and welcome back to Otherworldly Encounters, where you can submit a story to my email address, which you can find in the description section of this channel. Simply click on the word that says About, and it will take you there. If I find your story to be interesting, I will turn it into a video. No need to use your real name, you can submit anonymously. Today this story comes to us from Blake. One Saturday afternoon, I was sitting in my father's recliner. I was staring at the ceiling, wondering what I should choose as my college major. My father was a pharmacist, and my mother, an elementary school science teacher. Suddenly, the ceiling opened up, and some sort of gravitational force pulled me up and out of the recliner. I heard a swishing sound, and the next thing I know, I am no longer in my body, but now I am in some kind of pod. I thought, what the heck is going on here? Am I dreaming? The pod walls seemed to be the consistency of jello, and there were objects in the pod that seemed to be doing repetitive tasks. I had never seen objects like this before, and they are hard to describe, as they were different shapes, sizes, and colors. I was in a state of total fear and confusion, and thought that maybe I was dead. The jello-type walls started expanding. The pod was getting larger, and then all of a sudden, the pod split. Now there were two pods. I was in one pod, and a duplicate of myself was in an adjacent pod. I could see that whatever movement I made resulted in my duplicate making the same movement. This pod splitting process kept repeating itself, and now there were hundreds of pods. Soon the image of multiple pods looked like bubble wrap, and was taking on a shape of some sort, and the shape was pulsating. At that point, I could no longer tell if the person in the pods was a copy of me or someone else. Suddenly, round white objects appeared and started gnawing at me. I was yelling for help, then the pod split again, but this time I was pulled out of the pod, and into a dark void. I was floating around, then saw what looked like stars. Suddenly my thoughts started speeding up, and my thoughts were no longer mine. It was as if someone had hijacked my brain. I felt like these thoughts were sacred, and I was getting them accidentally. I will not go into all of the emotions that I experienced, as it will cause this story to be too lengthy. I will focus more on the images that I saw, in what I will refer to as a download. I saw elemental symbols entering a transparent person's body through his eyes and ears. After a while, the symbols exited through its head, and were sucked into what looked like a huge rotating crystal ball. Inside the ball, I saw sparkling like static electricity. These symbols were floating around in the sparks. They eventually turned into dust particles and exited the ball somehow, and now they were floating around with me in the void. Suddenly, a hole opened up below me, and the particles exited through the hole. I could see the earth through the hole, and it was breathing, and the particles covered the earth. Then they were absorbed into the earth. Suddenly, I was back in my recliner. I was stunned, as I did not know how this could happen. I guess you could say it was an out-of-body experience. There was so much more information in the download that I no longer recall. Bits and pieces do come back to me at times, and I am still trying to make sense of it all. As it turns out, I eventually chose biology as my major, with a minor in geology. At times, I feel like the pods were human heart cells, undergoing mitosis, and the strange objects in them were the internal operational mechanisms of the cells. I was a foreign body to the cell, and that was probably the reason why I was getting gnawed at by the white objects. I think I was inside the cell in order to show me that planets undergo mitosis, and that is how new ones are formed. I felt the elemental symbols represented information being gathered through our eyes, which are cameras. After it travels through the brain, it moves out and upward into some sort of an analyzer. After being analyzed, the information is sent back to Earth in a more advanced form, and this was where novel ideas came from. This creates advances in science, which brings us closer to understanding the nature of our existence. These are my thoughts about this strange experience currently, but they may change as time goes on. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will come back and visit again soon.